Welcome to Shift Happens, From Pain to Purpose, the podcast where we explore the power of sharing your story. Each week, you'll learn from entrepreneurs and everyday heroes to uncover how their stories of struggle become stories of strength. I'm your host, Alexis Andra, creative director, life coach, and lover of a great comeback story. Together, we're going to explore the healing power of storytelling and inspire you to find your voice, own your journey, and shift your pain into purpose. Let's dive in because your story just might change someone else's. My next guest is the incredible Christina. She's a former celebrity hairstylist turned top earner in Monat, but beyond her success, she's a true testament to not giving up when unfair moments happen. She has faced deep trials from losing her father, battling infertility, and navigating the adoption of her daughter, who also was born prematurely with a brain injury. But through it all, she's been a beacon of hope, showing women that no matter what they've been through, they can rise, thrive, and create a life they love. I'm so excited to dive into her story today. Christina Smallwood, welcome to Shift Happens.
Oh my gosh, that is so thank you for having me. I'm like just so excited to be here.
I'm so excited. I'm seriously so excited. I've been wanting to sit down and chat with you and grab some coffee or maybe some fizz.
Yes.
And connect. And so I'm just so thankful that you made your way out here today.
I know, same. I'm so proud of you and all that you're doing.
Thank you.
Truly, like I have been so drawn to you and just every like little piece you share about your story, I'm like, I want to know more. Like, well, I love it.
Okay, that's so flattering. But today, I want to dive into.
I'm a hard interview because I want to ask you all.
You're going to start asking me questions. Hey, I'm here for it too. But I want to start first, just because you have created a name for yourself as a celebrity hairstylist. So I wanted to kind of just get some background about what initially drew you into that career.
Okay, well. First, I want to say like I barely graduated high school and there was like very little hope for me. Like my parents didn't even send out my announcements and stuff. So it was like literally and I would say I was like going nowhere and just really into partying, really into my boyfriend, like just one of those girls. That's all I cared about.
You lived in
the IE.
The IE.
Upland. Yes.
Here we are.
Born and raised in the
we got
IE.
the IE girls up in here.
Basically, I remember being a beauty school dropout, high school year, I was barely going to college. Just to appease my parents, I went.
What college?
Chaffee, junior college.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, literally. So it was bad. But I had a day where I came home and my dad sat me down and was like, you're about to get kicked out of junior college, then you're not going to be on our health insurance anymore. Like, what are you doing? Like, you cannot get paid to party. And I'm like, but Paris Hilton. It was 2002, you know. I'm like, Paris Hilton does.
Like,
and he's like, you can't get paid to be social, you know. But you love going and doing hair. You're ditching school to go do people's hair. Why don't you go back to beauty school?
Yeah.
Make a career of it. Like, you can make more than a doctor. My brother, who I was sort of like in his shadow, was an overachiever. He was someone that was straight A's, was going to dental school, UCLA, like just super smart. And then my dad was getting his second PhD.
Wow.
And my mom was a perma student, just like loved going to school for fun. So then there was me, you know, like just
You're
a
like,
nightmare.
What family is this that I'm born into?
I was the blackest sheep ever. And so when he said that and he kind of gave me his vote of confidence, he was like, you can take it serious. And it really, he said, the key to life is finding what you're passionate about and then figuring out a way to get paid to do that. And he's like, you love doing hair, make it legit. So went back to beauty school. And I remember, you know, I went into being an assistant and then went into learning from everybody and furthering my education. I have never taken anything so serious, except finding a husband that I took pretty serious. But my mission was clear. And I remember being like early on saying, I just want to do a couple housewives. Like I never said I want to be the best at this or that. I was like, I just want to do, I loved watching the Real Housewives. I mean, we grew up in the era of reality TV birth, you know, so they were the OGs. So I started just kind of speaking it out. And that's really.
But like, what was that connection then? Because you landed that, like you landed gigs and you were doing hair for the housewives, correct?
So
Or how
my
did that
wedding
work?
photographer, yes, my wedding photographer shot Tamara's wedding.
Okay.
And I told her, I said, get me in. Like, I will pay you. I will pay you to do Tamara's hair. And like Tamara was my favorite. And she said, okay, well, I'm going to do her family photos and I want you to come in and I'll say that you're part of the package. I'm going to provide hair for her. And I got like really did me a solid.
That,
Like,
I
shout
love
out
friends
Christine.
like that.
Yes.
I
a
love
good
friends
friend.
like that.
One of those.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
solid.
she got my foot in the door and then was like, the rest is up to you. And I just put like, I was so nervous. But I'm like, I know I can nail Tamara hair. I can give her the best beachy waves with the right amount of fullness. And she loved it. And I followed up. I sent a follow-up message and I said, I would just love the opportunity to do your hair for the show. I think it'd be really fun. I loved working with you. No response. A couple weeks later, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go for it again, and sent it again. And then I was like, I'm going to tell her makeup artist because she seemed like really into her makeup artist, her opinion. So I went to the makeup artist and I said, I want to do Tamara's hair. Like, I just want you to know I really enjoyed working with you. And she's like, girl, you're hired. Like, she already told me that she's using you. And I'm like, no one told me. So
What?
I was so
Isn't
excited.
that so crazy how things happen like that?
Yes.
I
It
love
is.
that.
So
And that started the journey.
And that started she opened, I am forever grateful to Tamara Judge because she opened an entire new world of opportunities for me. And
I love that.
I did have to knock on the door quite a few times and really vocalize it. And that's why I always tell people, like, if you're going after something, you have to speak it out. You have to let other people know where you want to go because they might finally know someone that can help you get there.
That is the power of networking, and that is the power of collaboration, is you have no idea who knows who in a room that you are in as well. So the more that you speak it out, let's just say you wanted to start a podcast or you needed a podcast guest or whatever, and you were in a room that you got invited in, but you're not talking about what you are going after, you could be leaving potential clients, guests, opportunities on the table because you're not actually walking in what you want.
Yep.
So that's really powerful.
Absolutely.
So from there, as a celebrity hairstylist to then pivoting into Monat, what was the defining moment that made you say, I think I'm going to go all in on this business?
Well, I mean, it was a big one because I think anyone joining into network marketing, especially I had built up a reputation. I was now working on TV. I was #1 on Yelp and on Orange County hairstylist. So I feel like I
it's
had
almost
a
like
lot
your
to
identity.
lose. Yes.
It's like that's like your identity now.
Oh, yeah. And my husband was like, this is embarrassing.
Okay, like now we're selling shampoo.
So I would say I put my foot in because I saw huge performance with the products. And I was like, all right, of course, I'm going to back something I see legit results with. And so that was like my one foot in.
Yeah.
But the all in moment was actually when I had gotten asked to speak on a Monat stage for the first time. And it was like a big opportunity. I knew it was going to be amazing for just where I'm going with that company. And I had already said yes to doing Tamara's hair for the opening credits, you know, like when they spin around and flop, you know, throw around the orange and everything. And they call that opening titles. And I had already committed to her. And then Monat asked me for the same day. And that was like the moment that I was like, I'm really sorry. I know I told you I could do your hair for this, but I got this opportunity and they asked me to speak on stage and I need to take it. And I think that's when she realized too, like, holy moly, like she's really doing this thing. And I mean, we were super close at that time. And there's a line out the door of hairstylists that are talented that want to do her hair. I knew she was fine. I made sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a big moment. That was 2019.
That's huge. I talk about identity because, you know, even for me as a creative and running the Shift Creative and then pivoting into being a coach and doing podcasts, there's a part, and I don't want to say that it dies. But your identity is so wrapped in sometimes our performance of things that we're almost scared to leave one occupation for the next, because then it's like who are we and what if we fail
in
that next endeavor?
100%.
So in working in network marketing, what has been the biggest surprise?
I think that personal development is so close to success. Like so many people think, oh, I'm this person behind the scenes and then I'm this person in front of everybody. And the closer you connect those two and develop yourself, the farther you're going to go. And so it's actually I just was listening to another podcast and they were talking about like, if you want to grow tall, you have to build deep. You have to dig deep. And I'm like, so good. And I think that's the biggest surprise about all of this is that you actually have to work on yourself if you want to be successful.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think that's very, very valid. And I think sometimes we try to just hustle, and white knuckle our way to success, whatever success means to us. And we lose sight of doing the deep work and the inner work.
Especially because you were someone built things with your hands. You got to be creative. It was all this visual display. And you know, okay, if I have this beautiful display, then and same with me with my work of art, with my hands.
Yep.
So if I can do that really well, then you can kind of hide behind something, but you reach a wall and you reach this like, I want more in my life. I want other purpose. Like I know it feels so shallow at some point.
Alexis here. Don't skip past me just yet. If you love what you're hearing from Shift Happens, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review so we can continue sharing stories of impact. Thank you. And now back to another powerful story. I think that is, you hit it on the head. It feels shallow. And that's the reason for the podcast. One of the reasons is to get deeper with so many different types of people and to learn from their journey, their story, their pain, and how they've navigated pain into purpose. We talk about success. How would you define success currently in your life?
Well, I honestly have adopted John Maxwell's definition is that those who are the closest to me love and respect me the most. And that to me means, because you can have all the love and adoration from all the followers and all the things, but if you don't have the respect from those that are close to you, you have nothing. And the moment he said that, I'm like, that is mine. That is my definition of success. So I've completely adopted to that. And that is a huge goal, which obviously running a big business and a big team and social media, all the things, you can kind of get lost in the chasing the followers, chasing the like count. But
yeah, and sometimes we can look at followers or likes or messages and be like, oh well, this means I'm worthy. Yeah, this means I am. Your values. You're attributing value to really a perceived version of you. Even though we try to be as real as we can, I don't know if we look at it as like, oh, I'm looking into a mirror and what are people seeing that they don't like about me? Or what are the people seeing that they do? And I need to do more of that. And we try to fit into a mold.
Absolutely.
And I think that what you do though on social media with just getting ready with me and putting your makeup on and showing skin transformations and all of that, you really do a great job of taking your audience on your journey, a daily journey.
Thank you.
Thank you. And no, honestly, and
we all need to hear that, because you can get so stuck in your routine.
That's scary though. Sometimes I look at your stuff, I'm like, dang, she is okay. She's still showing her skin updates. Honestly, today showing her dog passed away yesterday, and even today you were up. I said. I was watching it. I was like, you're in your grief with your dog, and you were being open with your audience. And I think that is why people are attracted to you, truly. And I think that is a light that is in you that other people are saying, I want that. And we can say, that's why she's successful with Monat. But even aside from that, as a mother, as a wife, as a follower of Jesus, that people can recognize a difference in you, I think is powerful. And it also leads back to your definition of success, because I'm sure your family looks at you. I'm sure your husband, hopefully at times, looks at you and your kids, and they say, I respect and I love my wife and my spouse. And it is, you show up who you are.
I try to really encourage everybody to do this, because you think, oh, successful, I need the professional this, I need the this, I need the that. And you got to check off this list in your head, because I get inundated with the same reels probably that you do. And I'm like, oh, I need to. And I think that aiming for connection is the best. And whatever emotions that you're having, like letting people have the sight inside to what, like just vocalizing whatever you're experiencing. And I really appreciate you saying that, because lately I've been saying authenticity is showing who you really are, not who you think you should be, right? Like what actually makes you you. And, you know, everyone's into this, you know, get your niche, like build that. But I would say aim to have one of your niches or your niche. I don't know the right way to say it.
Either way. Tomato.
Have it be vulnerability and make that one of the pillars that you stand on. And then that's always with you. Everywhere you are, you can bring that out and share. And it's, you know, a little bit therapeutic for me to be able to share that kind of stuff. But I think there's also huge moments and opportunities in that to build trust with your audience. So if you're feeling like you want to connect, you want to build trust, be vulnerable. That is absolutely the best way. And it's with you everywhere. It's the hardest thing to do for most people because they're hiding from themselves, you know. That's why the inner work is so important.
Yeah, I really, really resonate with that. With being vulnerable, you've also shared your journey with infertility.
Yes.
Can you bring us into that process, how you felt on that journey as well?
So after I had my pivot and I became an overachiever in my hair business with my family, I was like, oh, if I say I'm going to do it, I can do it. And I became someone that was like, I can make anything happen. I can make anything happen that I set out to. So when I got the news that I was infertile, I remember I was working that day and they called me. They said, we have bad news for you. And I just really, at that first time, I just felt like biology failed me. My body failed me. I was never mad at God. I almost just like accepted it immediately. Like, this is not meant for me. I don't know if that's just my unhealthy way of dealing with things. Like my dog died yesterday and now I'm like, all right, we're going on, you know, and the part of that I read about in my book, but I tend to numb or avoid. And I pushed myself over it. And it wasn't until Finley, we ended up adopting, and it wasn't until she was a couple years old that I feel like I actually grieved that. I was in a Bible study with women and we were talking about it, and I just was like, started sobbing about not being able to get pregnant. And it was like, I didn't even know I had that pain in there. I'm so fulfilled through my motherhood journey and through everything. But part of me was like, this is actually really sad. You know, I'm not going to get to experience that.
And during that time, that same time, your dad passed away. What was the timeline between struggling with infertility and your dad passing?
Within months. I mean,
wow.
Yeah. I celebrated my 1-year wedding anniversary, and Josh and I had already started trying to get pregnant because I was 28. And to me, that's like, I'm 40 now. I'm like, that was so old. I was so old when I was 28.
Time's ticking. Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And all my friends were starting to get pregnant and stuff. So I wanted to kind of keep up with them because I was a little later to get married. And, I remember telling my dad, and my dad's like, what do I got to do to get you guys to have a baby? And I'm like, we're trying, you know, we're trying. That was my last conversation with him.
Wow.
And he actually told my mom, I'm praying for twins, which is crazy.
Because now, if you want to fast forward.
That's fast forwarding now. I have twins. But I think the timeline, I mean, he ended up getting in an accident. And it was right the week of Thanksgiving. I got awoken with that news, and my dad was my everything. He was like one of my person that I would just call and talk to. I was so close with him. I was not very close with my mom at all. And so daddy's girl, I mean, he's the wind in my sails. I mean, even one of my last text messages from him was like, I'm so proud of you. I love you so. He was so good at communicating those feelings. And so he passed away, and I turned to Josh like within weeks, and I said, I need joy. I need joy now. And I was forced to be in that grief with my dad, that I think that as soon as I got the news of infertility, weeks later, I was like, I'm getting out of this. Like, we need to be onward, upward. I need a goal. I need something I'm shooting for. But it was within weeks, really.
Wow. Okay. So you're going through that. And then you guys decide you're going to adopt.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was the timeline from with the adoption process?
Okay.
Because I know it's a hard process. I don't know
they
too much.
Say that.
But it wasn't?
Say that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I was expecting. Everybody says that.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. So when you are going to adopt a newborn, for example, they give you a stack of papers, and it says, I mean, everything down to religion, eye color, bloodline, disabilities in the family. Like, you can specify.
I did not know that.
What you are willing to accept and what you are not willing to accept. Yes.
I had no idea.
So the more specifications you have, most people don't know about this. The more specifications you have, the longer it's going to take.
That makes sense.
Now, at the point in time that we were adopting, it was 2013. And the average wait was 3 to 6 months to get a match of a newborn. And that, to me, it seemed like forever, 6 months to wait. But we really ended up waiting 3 months. Wow. So from my dad passing away in December to us holding our baby girl in the NICU, who was born with a brain injury. My dad died from a brain injury, and my daughter's now being born 6 months later with a brain injury. It was, talk about trauma filled, and just the hardest year of my entire life. So
you get the call. She's born 9 weeks premature, correct? And you guys go to the hospital. Is that how it went down? You guys go to the hospital.
Yep.
And what are the doctors telling you at this
Well, they
point?
didn't want to talk to me because they're like, who are you?
Yeah.
I'm not the birth mother.
Yeah.
And, she was 19 at the time. And I went and visited her first. She sort of has to sign off to give me permission to have a bracelet and go see the baby who's in the other end of the hospital and then in the NICU. And I go through the rigmarole of this. Who are you? And I was honestly met with a lot of hostility from some of the staff that I was like tricking this birth mom into giving me her baby. I mean, I didn't even know that existed still.
Wow.
Like I thought more people were like open to adoption that are.
Yeah.
And they made me feel literally bad. And it was weird because the hospital could only tell the birth mother the news. So to get information from them, it wasn't until a few days in that I had rights signed to me and an agreement, and the hospital started recognizing me as someone. That's when the neuro team came in and said, we're monitoring brain bleeds. They're grade 3 right now. We're going to see if they progress, and she might not ever walk or talk.
So in that moment, how are you and your husband receiving the information? Were you guys like talking to each other? Were you just like in a shell of yourself, or like what was that like with you guys together?
It's not what you would think. Like, even thinking back now, I'm like, I kind of can't believe there were certain things we didn't talk about. Okay. I was so determined that this was my baby and I was going to do everything to make sure she was okay. And I was just like, she's going to be okay. I like never even let myself go into grief. Okay. Never. And in the moment I asked the doctor, I just remember like him telling me the news and me crying, she might not ever walk or talk. And I'm like, is she going to die? Like that was like where my brain was. So I'm going to lose her now. And he's like, oh no, she'll be fine. She just might not ever walk or talk. And time will tell. And the moment they told me she wasn't going to die, it was like game on. Like we are going to get out. We are going to get her all the things that she needs. Like whatever that looks like, I don't know. But I was so gung-ho of just being like completely smitten and in love with this baby.
Mm-hmm. So what has her healing journey looked like? Has it been like a lot of physical therapy? Has it been a lot like speech therapy? And how has that affected your guys's, I don't know if it's dynamic or just life in general?
So she's gone through multiple surgeries. I mean, we had like 8 specialists when she got out of the hospital, and it was every week was a different appointment. And for me, being someone that my mom, up until that point when my mom was still making my doctor's appointments for me, I leaned on her a lot. It was rough. Like, I can't tell you how many times I went to the wrong office at the wrong day or the wrong time, just trying to juggle my clients. It was a mess. I was in tears on a regular basis. But in-home therapies, horse therapy, like just eye doctors, pain management. She got Botox in her leg. I mean, just it was wild. It was wild. Each day, I always took it like one step at a time, because it was just like the next call I need to make, the next appointment she needs to have, the next surgery, the next this. And the dynamic shifted. Honestly, I didn't let anyone touch her. I didn't let anyone hold her. I was like paranoid, crazy helicopter mom. And I don't have anything to compare a motherhood journey to other than what my husband and I experienced with that. But I would say it brought us closer together. And I know that that's not always statistically what happens with special needs families.
And that's
the
why
divorce
I
rate is
ask.
high.
That's why I ask, because that is, one, being a first-time parent is a lot as it is. Now you guys are a first-time parent with a daughter who has a lot of needs, surgeries, like you mentioned, physical therapy, all the things. So it's not, and I'm going to use this for normal quote, in quotes.
Yeah, typical. Yeah.
Typical. It's not a typical first parent experience.
Yeah.
And so at this point, would you say you're following Jesus?
It's wild because even to sit on the paper and be like, we don't care, whatever, we'll take any baby that God wants to give us. There was moments of these like blind faith, but on every single day, no. I was drinking heavily. I was not coping well. But God was in our life. Obviously, He was working in different things, and there was certain things I had peace about. But my husband and I really became a team, and He let me be the coach of that team and like the lead. Whatever I said and did was going to happen with Finley, we did it. If there was something that I wanted her to have, like an extra pair of orthotics that were more a prettier color.
Yeah.
Like, ridiculous things.
Yeah.
That I was like, I need her to have these pink ones for the pink days. I was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I knew I was going to work to make the money for that so that it wouldn't be an issue with him and I. Life got very expensive very quickly.
Yeah.
And we were just in go mode.
And you were sharing all this on socials, correct?
I was sharing it all because what I hated was when I would see someone or someone would come, they'd give me a look of pity, like, oh, like, I'm like, hey, I'm thriving. I don't want anyone to feel bad for me. I don't want anyone to feel sad for us. Yes, my dad died. Yes, so I'm infertile. Yes, we adopted his daughter and now she has special needs. Sure, there's a great cloud over me, but I'm happy and we're good. And just because life looks different doesn't mean it's sad. Actually, I think in a lot of ways we're happier than most people because we have perspective on every single day.
Absolutely. Did you have to take a back seat in your career during this time or no? Yeah.
I up until like just a couple years ago, my voicemail said I'm out on maternity leave. Like I never went back to the salon. I started doing hair out of my house, which was something that I had so much shame for a while. I'm like, this is what hairstylists do when they die. Like, this is not okay that I'm doing hair out of my house. Like, I wanted to work in a prestigious salon.
Yeah.
And my motherhood hat came on and I cared so much more about that. But you would never know that I was in my career. It was always about my work. It was never about me as a person. So my identity went from hairstylist and my creations, and that was all I ever posted was my work. It was never me. There was no pictures of me on my page. That would be ridiculous. And then now I'm a mom. Now I'm Finley's mom. So I was really hiding behind these things. And it wasn't, I don't know, I was worried about acceptance, which comes from childhood traumas.
Do you think that now you feel more free?
Oh, yeah. I'm free AF. This is me. I have zero excuse. I have zero shame over anything. I refuse to let the enemy get me in that way. And that's another reason I share transparently is because I have these heavy visuals in my head of these people that have had these near-death experiences and can see in the spirit. Which is newer terms to me, but when they see darkness and evil spirits, they see them pouring shame onto people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's everywhere. And how many times are you talking with someone and they're like, oh, I don't want to talk about that because they feel ashamed over
absolutely.
It. They do.
Absolutely.
And that's the opposite of what God wants. The opposite.
And that shame can paralyze us from even making bigger moves or going for that business opportunity or whatever it may be because it
silences us.
Yeah. Exactly. I know you mentioned that you were drinking heavily. And then I know on social media you said 5 years sober. Congrats.
5 years this week. Thank you.
Wow, this week too?
Yes.
I celebrate with the mocktail.
Yes, I will. My recess mocktails.
I saw you post that. I really like them.
Oh, I love their Paloma. And I'm not a
Okay.
mocktail girl. Like,
Okay.
I'd rather have sparkling water for the
Yeah.
most part, or like a Heineken Zero is actually really good. I
Okay.
like that. But Recess Palomas, they have, they're bomb.
I don't think I've had the Paloma.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
I put a
but I
little
do
fire
like it.
salt in it. It's the best.
I gotta try that.
It's good.
So with the drinking,
Mhm.
what was the point there where you were like, all right, this is not serving me anymore?
Well, I had those moments on a regular basis. I would say every time I drank, it was well over a limit. Like, I couldn't, what's the word? Moderate. I couldn't moderate.
It wasn't just like, oh, let's have two.
No, there was no. Even if I was elected the DD for the night, I was always, and this was before Uber, like, I was never the DD on the nights that I was supposed to be. I chased fun. I was an extremist, and my goal really was to black out, as awful as that is. Now, even into motherhood, because I have people say, like, well, how did you adopt if you were a drunk, And it's not that I was drunk every day, but just when it was time to wall out. Like, I've ruined several friends' weddings. I've ruined several bachelorette parties. I've ruined a lot. And I've had to do a lot of the apologizing and going off on people, and just things that are so out of my character when I'm sober, that there was a couple nights that I would say was a rock bottom, and I don't disclose all the details from it, but it was things that my husband literally begged me, like, please never drink again.
That was my next question, is how did your drinking affect your marriage?
It was not good. It was blowout fights, and if both of us were drinking, he's now sober 4 years, and we don't really argue anymore without alcohol. So it's interesting. Most of our arguments were, and they call it spirits. I'm sorry. I try not to preach being like anti-alcohol, but there's so much when you get into spirituality, like why you realize there are certain things that make you a worse human. And alcohol is one of them. I don't know one person that's like, that was the best decision I ever made because I was drunk.
That's
Never
true.
once do you hear someone say
No,
that.
it's a valid point. It is a valid point. I'll have to think on that. No, yeah.
And it didn't make me a better human at all. And I couldn't moderate. So I definitely knew and was aware, maybe I have a problem then.
Was it hard for you to stop?
No. Cold turkey. Cold turkey. Now, the hard part was all the emotions that come, because they say, like, you end up kind of regressing to the age you were when you started drinking, and I was 13. And I remember the moment that alcohol made me accepted and cool with my group of friends. I remember that. And that's what I chased. Like, oh, people will like me. Yep. So when I was getting sober, I remember telling my husband, I just don't know if who I am without alcohol. Like, are people going to like me and want to hang out with me? What if I'm not fun? My husband's like, you show up on your stories every day and you have people entertained, and that's before you drink. And then you go offline at 4 p.m. and then you have to apologize to people the next day. Like, people like you better sober. I promise you.
Yeah. No, I love that. So drinking started at 13, and you mentioned childhood trauma. I know there's an element of that, of where you wanted to fit in with your friends. But was there something in your childhood where you were like, I'm trying to escape reality?
Well, I was heavier set, pleasantly plump, they called me, or big boned. So I was heavier set, and I was really, really obsessed with Disney movies, like Prince Charming. I was going to find Prince Charming. And my trauma, and my mom and I are really good now, so it's like a little difficult to discuss without making her sound horrible. She did the best she could with what she had, and she had a lot of unhealed stuff too. But I for sure was black sheep in my family. And there was a love that I was pursuing that I didn't realize that I had. If you weren't communicating your love to somebody and you're making them feel shame about how they are, rebellious, making bad choices, I was acting out in all these ways, and honestly all I wanted was like a hug and to be told that,
and like her approval.
Yeah, basically. So I forgot what the question was, but yeah.
just if you were using alcohol to kind of cope.
Oh yeah. So when I turned 13, and I think I just kind of felt like I was kind of waiting to see at all times, even though I was social, like do you like me? Am I okay? Like, am I accepted? Am I in? Because I felt like I had like these cool friends. And so the night that we got drunk for the first time, I remember chasing each other and laughing and like they just having the best time. And I'm like, oh, they like me. And I have to be like this for them to like me. And actually, it ended up turning into drugs, which I don't really ever talk about on my social. I don't know why. I have no problem being open, but I did. I actually got into like even like crystal meth use.
Oh, did you?
When I was 18.
It's the IE in you.
The IE sucked me in. And the first time I came home high on crystal meth, I talked my mom's ear off.
Dude, I bet. You're like,
yeah. And my mom said, wow, if you were like this every single day, we'd have the best relationship. And she had no idea.
Wow.
And I just thought I have to be different in order to
be loved.
And that was 18. So it was really such a transitional. She hates that. Of course, it breaks her heart to hear that.
Yes, now hindsight.
But I wondered, like, I was so uninhibited. And
yes. You know what? There's things about your story that I really relate with as far as feeling more open and more like you can be I almost feel like almost like being like yourself, like because I did drugs and I was drinking all the things, and I don't know if it's like your true self or if you just feel more like you don't care as much. I don't know what it was, but I also felt similar where it was like, okay, well, yeah, I'm just going to be free and this is what people like. This is the fun, Alexis. Yeah. I remember when I gave my life to God and I was, super into partying and I slowly started changing. And my friends would say, I miss the old Alexis. And I had to really, grapple with that and be like, okay, so the old Alexis that was staying up until the next day doing coke with you, to the one who was trying to better her life, walking with the Lord, that no longer appeals to you because what I'm doing is I'm walking in the light. And when you're walking in the light, it exposes the deeds of darkness. And in layman's terms, really what that means is you feel judged by just me, just how I'm living. Even if I'm not judging you for what you're doing, but I'm living in a way that's so contrary to how you're living, you're offended by that.
Yep.
And so I had a choice to either say, am I going to fall? My best friend passed away when I was 19 and everyone was out partying. I had a choice then. Am I going to fall back in line and just go with it? Or are you going to take a stand? And so I can really relate to a lot of your story. And I think that doing what's right isn't most of the time it's not easy.
No. It's not,
it's
especially
a
if you have a need
road.
to people please.
Yes.
It's like, ooh, people are not going to like this.
It's uncomfortable. There's a resistance in you. In your story, there were a lot of moments where you could have given up. You could have thrown in the towel. You could have continued drinking. You could have done anything. Your marriage could have ended. All of these things, what do you think anchored you to keep going?
Hope. Literally. Hope anchored me. That I would have the outcome that the little tiny girl dreamt of. It looks completely different, obviously. But I think that just that genuine hope anchored me. And when I think about what gave me the strength every single day to wake up and take each step, it really was God. And it really was Jesus. Like, there was no way. I remember it hitting me in church. I said, okay, I'm not going to drink. And before I even told anybody, I remember saying, like, how am I going to actually do this? Like, how am I going to really do this? Because I've said I'm going to try before and I can't make it 4 days. Like, now I'm at 1 week. How am I going to do this? And whatever the worship song was said, the Lord is your strength. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to do this alone.
Yeah.
I have God. Oh, yeah. I have God to help me with this. Oh, my gosh. Like, I'm so going to do this. And then it clicked. I had said God is my strength since I was tiny, pastor's kid. Okay. And like, it finally hit me like, oh, yeah, he is our strength. And I have felt so solid in that. So that really, my anchor is the hope in that.
As we wrap up, what would you say to someone that's listening that might feel like they are in a season of hopelessness and they don't even know how they would even turn their pain into purpose?
Okay, so I want you to hear me that there will come a day when this pain does have a purpose and it doesn't feel the same way, and you actually feel empowered for it, and you will actually even sort of be grateful for it in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
That hope is not something you wish for. It is an action step, meaning you have to actually do something for it. I couldn't just hope that one day my daughter would walk and talk. I actually had to say, what can I do today to get me one step closer to that? And that's actually in the hoping is in the doing. And just like you would walk into a bathroom and it's a motion censored water faucet, you can't just stare at it and hope that it turns on. You actually have to put your hands out.
I love that.
That analogy is like, think about whatever you can do in that step in your life. And that next step that you're going to take is going to be what is the hope, basically.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank
I know
you
your
for
story is going
having
to
me.
inspire so many people.
Oh, I love you. Thank you so much for having me on. You're special.
Yes, of course. I think that's a wrap.
Yay.
As always, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And I'll see you next week.